Dorr with a last corner pass on Jake Radetsky to win Thursday night. Ashley Anderson third, Jeff Provenzino fourth, and Dustin Strand, first time ever racing the Silver 1000, cracking the top 5. In the modifieds, 16-year-old young gun Caden Blazer getting it done. And another guy that's had one hell of a season behind the wheel of his modified, Superstock ace Nick Oreskovich running second, Jody Belfi third, and Brady Utanen with a great run. He cracked fourth, and then Tanner Giel with what might have been his best invitational finish ever, cracking the top 5 as well. So congratulations to those drivers finishing in the top 5. So I have a few questions here for you guys and related to the Silver, because I'm guessing you both watched it. Bert, did you watch the Silver? You probably watched the late model feature, or at least the clip on it.
I saw the late model feature and the last 10 laps of the modified feature.
So, Kraus, as a racer, okay, it was a great finish. It was an exciting finish in the late models, right? Pat Dorr with a crossover there on the last lap. Better move by Dorr for the win, or worse move by Jake Radetsky for going to the bottom when the top of 1, 3, and 4 is the place to be. Twice, by the way. Your thoughts?
That was both. Radetsky was good in 1 and 2 running that line. He'd go in low and then come out a little bit higher. But to be honest with you, I was watching him. He was not very good on the high side. He really wasn't. He was actually struggling in 3 and 4, even because there was a couple times where he had to go around the high side to get around some lappers. He wasn't very good. So I think he knew that. The issue was he went in and he drifted all the way to the top coming out of 4 on the last lap, and he hadn't been doing that. He'd been staying down, mid, maybe to the bottom, maybe mid. Then you would have made Dorr choose, hey, do I have to go around the top, or do I have to really arc it underneath them and get to the deal? So to get to the bottom, I'm going to put, it was a heck of a move by Dorr. It definitely was. But I'm going to put it on Radetsky. He's kicking himself right now. I think he's looking at it going, I should have done this, should have done that, should have done this. But at the end of the day, he was searching a little bit. Radetsky was. I think he knew Dorr was there and knew Dorr was coming. But great finish. It really was. And good to see. I mean, Pat Dortz, he sent it, man. I mean, he sent it into 3 and he pitched that thing and he was turning down under him regardless. So it was a heck of a finish. They even said, little past history there. Even Dorr said that. So now he was a few years ago. He's mad at me. Maybe he still is. I don't know. But the great finish. Good to see Radetsky run well. Obviously, he's a good guy. Got to know him a little bit too. And obviously, always good to see Pat Dorr in victory lane.
Yeah, and he's had a rough year. Let's face it. Dorr has not. So he was one of the drivers that was like probably just super happy that there was some moisture in the track. And when I say some moisture, in Turbo's terms, she was pretty moist. She was pretty moist. There was some people that were a little bit butthurt about it, and I get it. I've raced Proctor. I raced there as one of my favorite tracks ever. But when that place gets a little too wet and it gets greasy, it is a handful. And that's what the modifieds dealt with all night long. Is the heat races were kind of straight slime. It was a bad deal for them. And I do have a question on that. So Caden Blazer, of course, getting it done. The track was straight slime. Some of the guys that you figured maybe have a shot to win didn't make the feature because they either crashed or broke or just the fun meter was pegged after the heats. But Jody Belfi gets third, and he was pretty vocal in victory lane about the track conditions. And I got to be honest, I don't have a problem with it. I do got to give Jody a little shit because he gives me shit for being a little negative and calling out negative stuff. So, Jody, you're maybe more like me than you think. It just is what it is, right? So he was a little upset about it. But the question I have, I guess, when it comes down to it is, Illinois tracks are like that every night. Every night. They're straight slime. They get the tack. There's a monster cushion. They're literally scraping the wall. Fairbury this weekend will be absolute mud fest until late. It just is what it is. Do they get away with that in Illinois because they have time trials and you have an opportunity to get a good starting spot with a good time trial lap versus drawing bad starting 10th on a slimy track? Do you think time trials is a reason that Illinois drivers don't get quite quite as upset about a really, really slimy, heavy track to start the night?
I'm not exactly sure. I'm not quite sure how to answer that.
Kraus is a
yeah.
racer. We'll let Kraus take that one.
All right.
I'm going to say no, because I think the Illinois promoters just know what they're doing. They want a good show. And in order to have a good show out there, Macon, Fairbury, all these other tracks they got out there, you got to have some moisture in it. You got to be up by the wall, and you got to be arcing and sparking, and you got to be throwing slide jobs. And it could be the qualifying deal around here. Anytime I've seen the Challenge Series do qualifying this year, the track's been bone dry. So I don't get that. So, but they could be thinking that way. And you got to remember too, you got qualifying, and a lot of those places do hot laps as well. That is a heck of a lot of laps on tracks, to start the night. I mean, you're talking, and you're, like you said, you're getting 50, 60 cars a class. I mean, little quarter-mile track, that's a lot of laps to start the night. So yeah, I think they do. And I also think it's just kind of the way Illinois has always done it over the years. It's kind of a tradition too, to have the tracks like that. So yep, hey, maybe it's something we got to look into and say, hey, what do you do? The tough part about us is we're a straight up draw, and that's how you line up. And if Ryan, you've been there and done, you get pinned in the back of a heat and you can't go anywhere. How frustrated are you? I mean, you're so mad at the world because you drew bad and you get a 1-lane heat. So I think shows like that, if you're going to do it, let's get passing points involved. Let's get something else involved. Let's try to get the format figured out so we don't penalize those guys that got to start in the back of a 1-lane heat. And and then it happened in the mods. They don't go anywhere. So it's a tough deal.
So the best thing that I've seen, okay, as a racer, as a fan, the best thing that I've seen is when I went down to Volusia in 2009 for Speed Weeks, they did in the modifieds. Now, keep in mind, they had about 120 of them, and they did what's called group time trials by heat. So what they did is, let's just say that they had, for whatever reason, we'll just call it 100 cars, 10 heats of 100, right? Well, they did hot laps, but they did hot lap time trials. So you went out with your heat. So that way you didn't have like, well, my time trials was earlier than this guy, so I got an advantage. So they're utilizing their hot laps and time trials at the same time, not getting those extra laps. And they would go out, and let's say you had 10 cars in there, those 10 drivers would go green, white, checkered. Your best lap was your time trial lap. And that way they got hot laps in, they burnt the track in, and you had an opportunity, an equal opportunity with everybody in your heat race to put down a good lap. Now, I'm a way bigger fan of that than what Soda has going on with the Challenge Series, where they put 3-4 cars out at a time and all that. They have hot laps and they have time trials. I love the heat race or the hot lap time trials by heat, because it doesn't prolong the program. It burns in the track. Everybody's on an equal playing field. I think that would be a great thing to do. I know Ashland is looking at doing time trials of some sort for the 2025 Red Clay Classic, and I think that would maybe be the best way to do it. So fans or drivers, let us know what you think. Do you like time trials? No time trials? Group time trials? Individual? You'll be there all freaking night, right? I mean, Red Clay had 200. Would they have like 270 cars? Can you imagine how long it would be to do even one or two at a time? You need a whole nother day just for time trials. So you can't do that. I mean, that's just not an option. But I mean, maybe that, in my thoughts, I guess that's what makes Illinois a little different, because you at least have the opportunity to put down a lap and give yourself a better starting spot rather than starting in the back. But I get it. I kind of bang on Jody a little bit, but it was slimy. I mean, I know what that place is like when she's greasy. And everybody, Bert, how many times have you heard somebody say this? Well, it was the same for everybody. Everybody raced on the same track. That's bullshit, right? If you start in the front of that deal on a slimy track, it is a totally different situation than starting in the back. So that's just the way it is. But overall, the Silver 1000, glad they had good weather. It was a success. The late model feature was epic. The finish of that deal was incredible. Caden Blazer, Super excited to see this kid's future. 16-year-old absolute star in the modified, in the MB Customs house car. Congratulations to him as well. All right, guys, let's jump on to the 49th running of the Red Clay Classic they had this past weekend at the ABC Raceway in Ashland, Wisconsin. So, little recap of that. And then I'll let you guys just go ahead and run. I'll go class by class, and then if you have anything that stuck out in that class, I have a couple of things. I'll let you guys have the floor first. But Midwest Mods, they